If I may, I'll just stop sharing my screen and hand over to Tim. And I'm looking forward to this, Tim. Please take the stage.
Are we good at your end, David?
Yeah, looks good.
Okay. So, there's plenty. If you want to understand more about my background, LinkedIn is one of my big platforms. I post twice a week. Right now, my views are running 20 to 30,000.
Yeah, have you? I think your voice has gone, Tim. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Ah, I can hear you now. That's good. Got you back.
Oh, okay.
Lost
Maybe,
about
as I
10
said,
seconds.
we did see that one warning about unstable. So, it goes back to golf in the mid 80s, and the whole of my life has been focused around changing the way governance gets done. Um, there is a growing body of knowledge that says change is critical and needed at this juncture, and that includes strategy execution. So I will talk more about that as I go. Um, but I encourage everybody to follow me on LinkedIn if you're interested in the philosophies. Follow David, follow the site where the big information is, um, and we'll go from there. So, over the course of my life, I've changed. I built a company, I launched software, I've had two children. Um, Throughout life, in our own personal lives, you have certain events that are particularly big. So this book is nearing completion. It's been accepted for publication by a UK London-based publisher, and it's really sets out in my mind what needs to change in companies, and a lot of what I think needs to change is aligned with problems that the big proponents have faced as they try to bring in a more structured approach to strategy execution. So this is the working title of my book. It starts the purpose-driven governance piece. It starts by actually researching and it's quite clear that, in fact, as strange as it may seem, the purpose of governance hasn't really been clearly defined by any country, and that's somewhat surprising. And if we take that and we extend it, it turns out that when I use AI research and I look at the boards of publicly listed companies in all of the major countries of the world, very few boards have clear disclosed purpose. And when we look at strategy execution, clearly the CEO is doing what he or she believes is necessary to watch and see that it's coming together the way they had planned and hoped. However, the don't tell, don't ask syndrome says that those same CEOs don't want to share much details about the uncertainty of pulling the strategy off. And that extends to both what I call mission critical objectives, which include strategy value creation objectives, which are usually the type that are in strategic plans, as well as value preservation, which are the more mundane, obey the laws and things like that. So the book, and I encourage you to look at this is chapter 17 in draft of the book. So the book is suggesting that we need to move towards board purpose being a mandatory disclosure. So if boards don't think it's their job to oversee the mission critical objectives and the risk of achieving them, let's get that out. If a board accepts it, then fine, let's move on. If the board does not accept it, then I think shareholders deserve to be told that the board does not accept responsibility for overseeing uncertainty linked to that. And in our methodology, we want it focused on mission critical objectives, which are defined as the top strategic value creation and value preservation objectives. We want status reports ideally going to the board quarterly on uncertainty, whether it's acceptable or unacceptable to the CEO, and in companies that are larger, the chief risk officer and the chief.
Oh no, sound's gone again, Tim. So I think Tim said he'd pop out and then pop back in again, just to try and see if that connection reestablishes itself. So I guess this is one of those passages of the presentation that I'll cut out for our friends that are watching this after the event, and we can twiddle our thumbs whilst we wait for him to come back in.
So, in short, what I'm suggesting is in my book, which is chapter 17, I'm putting the final touches on, has a lot to do with what Big is trying to achieve because it goes to the way management has approached many things, ranging from compliance with laws to execution of strategic plans. There has been a strong attachment to what I call intuitive experiential management. And it has varied over the years when you bring in things like total quality and Six Sigma and frameworks like that. It starts to impose more discipline around certain aspects of a company. Um, and the rise of risk management has gone in strange ways. The definition of the word risk is the effect of uncertainty on objectives, but the majority of the world has taken it to mean create a list of big risks, show it to the board, and then move on, and the board gets a tick for risk oversight. So they haven't assessed the effect of uncertainty on objectives. So that's a big part. Um, I've always understood this notion. I entered internal audit in 1981. It was clear that there were areas that internal audit just wasn't allowed to go. It wasn't written anywhere. But when I was at Gulf Canada Resources, for example, internal audit had never audited the process to discover and produce reserves. So that may seem strange in an oil company, but it just wasn't where internal audit was allowed to go. And later in the 90s, after the big global financial crises and onwards from there, the rise of risk management came up. There is strong evidence the majority of risk management functions are not allowed to get integrated into strategic planning. And that is a global phenomenon. And when I mean integrated, I mean seriously, in the sense that there is ongoing monitoring of the risk status on top strategic objectives throughout the life cycle of launching and implementing, and even at the beginning when we're just companies are deciding what strategic plans they should have at all. That is probably one of the most important places for risk management. So what's become clear, and AI has confirmed this, probably 75 to 90% of CEOs don't really want to share the risk status on mission critical objectives with the board. And that doesn't just cover the strategic plan, it covers things like reliable financial statements and complying with the law and business continuity and data security, which are value preservation objectives. You won't become a great company because you're great at data security, but you sure can become a less valuable company if nobody trusts you with any data because they're afraid you're not going to protect it while you have it. So this is where we're at. The formula, the 5 steps. Again, this is what my book covers. I just did a post last week. It resonated very strongly around the world. Let's start by getting the boards to define, and it is a statement of fact. Probably 3 in 100 boards have publicly disclosed the purpose of the board in the world. And I've had AI go out to all of the major countries, explore all of the public disclosures around governance from companies all over the world. So we're looking at require boards define, and if it doesn't include oversight of mission critical objectives, fine. Let's just put that down and let shareholders decide if they're good with companies that have boards that aren't overseeing mission critical objectives and the likelihood of achieving them. That's a decision shareholders can make. We want to refocus in the companies that have formal groups like risk management and internal audit. Neither of those has focused on mission critical objectives. They both claim they're focused on the top risks, but neither can demonstrate that they're assessing the effect of uncertainty on the most important objectives. We also want, and this is a big piece of what Big is trying to do, we want strong first line uncertainty management. And one of the things that Big is looking at is elevating structure processes in order to engage management more in the process of thinking about the threats to achievement and what are they doing to manage those threats. After they size them, they make some decisions about what to do about them. Most of the world, and if you're familiar with words like the 3 lines of defense, the 3 lines of defense actually regulatory imposed weak first line risk management. It actually assumes management won't assess and think about the risk to achievement. So in the original writing of the 3 lines of defense, that was clear. When the IIA updated it and retired the 3 lines of defense and went to the 3 lines model, it says management should be all about assessing, achieving objectives and assessing risk of achieving them. And that was 2020. Most of the world rejected the IIA 3 lines model and continued on with the 3 lines of defense philosophy of weak first line risk management. Hence, the majority of strategic plans and the execution of them have been divorced from the company's enterprise risk process. In fairness, it's divorced because most of the auditors and risk people haven't communicated that the work they do has to do with managing uncertainty key objectives will be achieved. People see it as compliance and police work. And that is a statement of fact. The surveys confirm the vast majority of management see the way audit and risk is done today as compliance-focused police. The surveys that the AI CPA in North Carolina State, it's about 8% maybe of the companies in the world see enterprise risk adding strategic value. That's a huge indictment. This is 15 years of surveys have indicated that. So what we're looking to is we want governance codes like the UK governance code. Unfortunately, the UK currently, paragraph 28 of the UK governance code said boards should oversee a list of the principal risks. Well, people take that literally. So they presume that means the board should get a list of the big risks or risks that people claim are big, review it, and then they can put a tick against paragraph 28 in the UK governance code. What it should say is the board is responsible for overseeing risk and uncertainty linked to the company's mission critical objectives. Full stop. Now, I have told the FRC that multiple times in person, in writing, in response to exposure drafts. They are part of the don't tell, don't ask syndrome. They have not encouraged boards to just plain, simply ask the board, the CEO, what are the company's mission critical objectives and who will be telling us about the risk and uncertainty linked to achieving them? Very simple question, takes less than 30 seconds to ask. The vast majority of board chairs have not asked the CEO that simple question. And that's because of the don't tell, don't ask governance syndrome, which is complex to understand. And the post that I'm going to be doing next week, it actually shows you how you can grade boards on the quality of their current mission critical objectives and risk oversight. So it actually scores boards out of 100 points on that. So again, if they say that's not our job, fair enough. Just put it in writing that it's not their job. So if they get a low score, they're saying they get a low score by design. They don't agree that it's their job to oversee mission critical objectives and risk.